Well, good thing they learned from their mistakes. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. Today I'm going to be ranking the 6 Jurassic Park films as part of my franchise Rankography series. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. So, what is a rankography exactly? Well, it's my ranking of a filmography, whether that be a director's output, an actor's appearances, or even an entire franchise. My rankographies are based on personal preference, and I rank movies according to how much I enjoyed them rather than any specific technical merit or attribute. Remember, this is just my ranking, not the ranking, so be sure to post your own personal ranking of the Jurassic Park franchise in the comments below. When Michael Crichton wrote his sci-fi cautionary tale about dinosaurs and unforeseen consequences, I'm sure that nobody could have predicted the global phenomenon it would become. The book was a success in its own right, but once it got into the hands of Steven Spielberg, it became something else entirely. A massive genre-spanning blockbuster that kicked off a resurgence of dinomania. Several attempts were made to recapture that magic over the years, with varying levels of success, but this franchise has certainly left a T-Rex-sized mark on pop culture. I've already reviewed all 6 of these movies on this channel, so if you want to check those out for some more in-depth thoughts on each of them, I'll put links in the description below and also link some of them up in the cards as we go along. Alright, let's get this rankography started. Coming in at number 6, The Lost World, Jurassic Park. This was the second film in the series, coming only 4 years after the original movie, and was the only other film in the franchise directed by Steven Spielberg. Most people hold this one up as an example of one of the best sequels in the series, and it gets a lot of love among fans, but I've just never particularly liked it. It always kind of just existed for me, and I found that I like it even less with each rewatch. This is the only other film in the franchise, besides the original, that was directly based on a novel. And strangely, the story all but abandons the logical path you'd expect a sequel to take, and instead opts for a different tone and a very different story angle. And I gotta say, that story is by far the worst part of this film for me. It has some interesting ideas, especially during the first act, but it's just largely lacking in interest and awe for me. Overall, the tone of this film is much darker and moodier than its predecessor. The majority of the film takes place at night, and although it does have some really good and memorable action horror set pieces, I don't find it nearly as entertaining as the first film. This one has got a bigger cast, and they're all mostly okay, even if many of them are just substitutes for characters in the first movie. But the big character draw here is Ian Malcolm, returning as the sarcastic and entertaining chaos theorist. Even though I have a lot of issues with this movie, there's no denying that the practical effects are still great. Maybe not as wondrous as the original, but the technological advancements here are noticeable, especially with the entirely self-contained, remote-controlled baby T-Rex, who, let's face it, absolutely makes this movie. Coming in at number 5, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. The second film of the second trilogy in the franchise, and unlike my number 6 pick, I think a lot of people will probably agree with the relatively low placement here. Of all the films in the franchise, this perhaps feels like the most unnecessary, but maybe not in the way you think. I don't consider this unnecessary because it's the 5th film in a declining franchise, but rather because it's mostly just a stepping stone of a movie. It spends a lot of time doing not very much. It's mostly just filler to get us to the payoff at the very end, which ultimately wasn't even really used very much in the following film. From a story perspective, this was kind of a weird direction to go. As we know, nobody in this franchise ever learns, and although this starts off strong with a unique dinosaur conservation theme, the second half devolves into something far less interesting and human-centric. On the character side of things, I think this film is a bit of an improvement over its immediate predecessor. We do get stuck with a few new characters like Franklin, but the returning characters, like Owen and Claire, are actually a bit more developed here, which is nice. We also get introduced to Maisie, who's okay in this movie, but obviously is a very big component of the follow up film. Fallen Kingdom is very much a film of two halves, and I think that's where it stumbles for me. I actually like the action adventure first half on the island. In fact, there's a lot of action throughout this movie, and it's probably one of, if not the most, action packed films in the franchise. And even the second half has some tense action horror moments, but it does drag. Luckily, the dinosaurs are still good. I think the Indoraptor is better than the Indominus Rex, and we've got plenty of blue and other practical dinosaurs too. Coming in at number 4, Jurassic World Dominion. I'll be honest, I really didn't expect to rank this movie so low. Maybe it'll jump up on rewatch, but this was a disappointing close to the Jurassic World trilogy, and most likely to the franchise as a whole. There was just so much unfulfilled potential here, and so many missed opportunities. Fallen Kingdom felt like it was primarily just a stepping stone to get us to this point, and yet this movie doesn't really deliver on anything that film set up. I mean, I guess we do get a lot more expansion on the Maisie stuff, but there's not nearly enough time devoted to exploring and dealing with the literal Jurassic world. We get tiny glimpses of that potential, but honestly, that should have been what this movie was about, and bafflingly, it wasn't. Instead, the vast majority of time is spent on a multitude of various human plots. It tries to touch on some larger themes, a la the original movie, but isn't really able to follow through on many of them. So the human subplots all just kind of feel like random attempts to give each individual character something to do. It would have been busy, but if they had managed to balance things properly, that honestly wouldn't have been bad. Unfortunately, by focusing on all of the human stuff, the dinosaurs are practically an afterthought in this movie. Even Blue is barely in it. We've got Baby Blue, or Beta, who's incredibly cute, and there are also some other cool dinosaurs that pop up periodically, but they're not nearly as big of a part of this film as you'd hope or expect. We see a continuation of the action ramp up of the second trilogy, and there are definitely some very cool set pieces, but the film is way too long and drags in between these moments of excitement. However, it's certainly fun to have Alan, Ellie, and Ian back together. That aspect, at least, is incredibly nostalgic and satisfying for fans. Coming in at number 3, Jurassic Park 3. Jurassic Park 3 and number 3? I must be crazy, right? If you had asked me a few months ago, I would have agreed with you. Jurassic Park 3 would have been last on my list. It's always been an underwhelming and kind of silly one to me, but something clicked on my most recent rewatch, and honestly, I kind of like it now. Really, it should be a bad one. It was released after quite a delay, was the first in the series not to be directed by Steven Spielberg, and came on the heels of an already underwhelming sequel. There's some incredibly annoying characters, and it's chock full of eye-rollingly dumb decisions. But we do get to see the first return of Alan, and Ellie to a much lesser extent. Those returning characters help a lot, as they do in Jurassic World Dominion, but I also think it's the tone that does it for me with this movie. This film knows what it is. The second sequel to a beloved blockbuster. It doesn't try to compete with or one-up anything. It just brings us back to a setting we're familiar with, but with a slight twist on the story, offering a comparatively unstructured island romping adventure. It's completely ridiculous, but it's also very fun, which is something that was lacking from a lot of the other sequels. There's some definite cheesiness, but it's a very breezy film, actually being the shortest in the franchise by far, which is something Jurassic World Dominion would have also benefited from. In spite of the lighter tone, this one still has some darkness and moments of tension, plus some really great dinosaur sequences, including my personal favorite, the Pteranodon cage. Coming in at number 2, Jurassic World. This is the film that brought this franchise back from extinction. 22 years after the original movie, and 14 years after Jurassic Park 3 seemingly closed the book on the franchise, we get the start of an all-new trilogy. With that kind of delayed release, and almost no returning characters, it would be easy to scoff at this film. It seems as cash-grabby as InGen making another dinosaur theme park. But surprisingly, it really works. That's not to say it's not without its issues. It suffers from jumping between several potential protagonists, having a fairly unmemorable villain, an odd fixation on the idea of hybrids, and a very dumb military subplot. It also doesn't really have the feeling of a traditional Jurassic Park movie, instead coming across more as an ultra-polished blockbuster. But in spite of all that, it delivers on the nostalgia and core aspects of the franchise, while revitalizing things for a new era. There are certainly a lot of things that are reminiscent of the original film, as well as the two previous sequels, but somehow this avoids falling into rehash territory. It's another rescue mission movie, but it's also another escape movie, and another film about prehistoric gene editing and corporate greed. Much like the dinosaur DNA at the center of this film, this movie is really a lot of things, both old and new, put together. John Hammond's dream is finally fully realized here. The theme park exists and is operational. Obviously, it's a terrible idea within the context of the film, but even knowing how horribly wrong things are gonna go, you can't help but wish you could actually go to the park. And as is the case with nearly all of the films in the franchise, this movie is full of great-looking dinosaurs, both CGI and practical. And really, that's all you can ask for from a Jurassic Park sequel. So that means my number one Jurassic Park movie is Jurassic Park. Big surprise, right? Forgive me for putting Jurassic Park 3 at number 3? No? Okay, I can accept that. But really, this is the clear franchise frontrunner for me. Like, not even remotely a competition here. I mean, I could just leave it at that for this one and you'd understand. This is the movie that kicked off not only the franchise, but also this pop culture phenomenon and the dinosaur craze of the 90s. I do have some minor issues with it, like the unnecessary human villain and a handful of very frustrating character decisions, but this is an iconic and endlessly enjoyable film from top to bottom, right down to the score. Cautionary tale about genetic engineering and action-adventure blockbuster probably don't seem like the most logical pairing, but it really was here, resulting in a film that can be enjoyed and appreciated at multiple levels. And that's all just from the story perspective. You've also got some incredibly memorable and now iconic characters, some spectacular animatronics and special effects that still hold up today, and a brilliant blend of genres. There's a little something for everybody here. Sci-fi, action, adventure, comedy, horror. It runs the whole genre gamut, while remaining a very engaging and fun to watch movie that never fails to entertain or spark wonder, no matter how many times you've seen it. Alright, so that's my rankography of the Jurassic Park franchise. 6 movies, 2 trilogies, and 1 very old T-Rex. What does your ranking look like? I'd love to see some reasoning for your order, so be sure to post it in the comments below. Remember, I've already reviewed all 6 of these movies, so you can check those videos out if you want some more in-depth discussion of each, as well as my ratings, pros and cons, and even tailored film recommendations. And if you're interested in buying any of these movies, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this rankography, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe if you're at it to see more videos like this, as well as movie reviews. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainely Movies. The way life should be.